Hi and welcome everyone. It's Lavender Sky Panther back with you for another reading. It is April 25th, 2023, a Tuesday, and this reading actually shaped up rather interesting. So I woke up, as always, asking, should I do a reading today? Whenever I have a little window of time and opportunity, I ask when I wake up that morning, and yeah, I got the green light. And green to the extent of I got nudged to use this forest background, and something said to make sure I included this fern. So that might be meaningful for somebody. You know, it's just a photographic print on this backdrop. And this fern just really jumped out as being prominent. So maybe that means something to somebody right off the bat. So I knew we'd be working with the fern and the green forest backdrop energy. And then from there, I had these playing card decks and flashcard decks, and so that shaped up to bring in Stonehenge to the table. These playing cards, these flashcards about the Everglades are actually really pretty. And then Dragon wanted to be present, so we've got this Dragon deck, and actually a book that has a slightly different approach to the dragon. So, you know, this I know it's kind of very diverse, but that might also be a key thing. This Stonehenge and Decoded book wanted to pop up too. Maybe there's something in there for anybody right away about decoding, something about roots. There's another book that wanted to jump out with the Everglades, so maybe something about ancestry or the Celtic Ogham, or, you know, nature, tree spirits, you know, elementals. It's something like that might be important to you in the second group. And the third group, again, we've got two different approaches and kind of descriptions about some of these dragons with this dragon energy. So as always, if you've looked at any of my other readings, sometimes I jump across all three groups. So, you know, there's going to be a group one with the Stonehenge, two with the Everglades motif, and, you know, three is going to be with the dragons. So feel free to pick a group, you know, that's calling to you. Just note I might hop across all three if you want to stay on, you know, for the whole thing. And then I usually have either bonus cards or bonus excerpt reading from some of these books beyond just however I'm moved. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm also usually pressed for time. I know I always say that, but literally today I have no idea how much time I have, so I'm going to try to be as brief as possible on this one, just because I don't want to be, you know, surprised, not in a good way, when I'm right in the middle of this. So let me do what I'm going to do. We'll trust that whatever's supposed to come out will come out. And also never be concerned with the length of any particular group. It is just what it is. And in this time, what wanted to come out card-wise and everything else and how it's presented really even surprised me. So go ahead and pick whatever energies you're feeling. Again, Stonehenge, the Everglades, which is a national park, I should just say, in Florida if you're not familiar, and also the dragon energies. Okay, so we'll get into it now. I did, for time's sake, I did shuffle the cards and meditate over them, and also always bringing in the highest, you know, what's the highest and best good for everyone. And some messages will click with you and are yours, others might not be. So just see, the intent of this is just to uplift you in some way, bring something good to your life, or maybe inspire you to dig in to other topics or things a little bit deeper, or on the direct opposite, maybe just a letter or a number or an image is all you needed out of this today. So let's see what we've got. You know, these are three very diverse groups. I'll give you a little preview. Let's see what's going on. So we're first going to start with the Sacred Forest Oracle deck, and I just pre-selected them, and I already flipped them face up just to make sure I could move through this the best way possible for today. Okay, so I'm going to show you, excuse me, kind of all three at a glance. And we've got, first up is Secret, Spring, and Success. So here's a gorgeous fairy with a crescent moon. And it's nice because on this little boat, this lantern, you know, looks very much like a star. And it's number 34, which is also a number 7 if you're looking at numbers and numerology. Right off the bat, you know, look at Joanne's Sacred Scribes, an Australian blog site, for excellent meanings on the positive aspects of the numbers. Eagle spirit, freedom, more stars with the eagle soaring above. Number 13, which is also a 4, Pegasus in the corner. I'm just going to go through everything and then come back and tie all of this in if it wants to be tied in. Meandering pathway and flow. Already this is starting to look like the backdrop I have for the card reading today. And we obviously have a wizard or sorcerer with a staff aglow. More stars, that's number 24 or 6. So all three, just to me, just everything popping out are these stars or the magic and the glow, everything's got the sparkle, whether it's, connected with the heavens or connected with the water. That in the first card, that can be just a reflection up off of, the stars, or that's its own water magic happening, and the sparkles and the magic of the fairies. Um, Also, we've got here with the freedom, the eagle, and usually you see, the Pegasus flying. It's interesting in this card that the Pegasus is grounded and kind of like deferring to the eagle, to kind of just take flight and have free reign over the skies. So that's a nice kind of reversal, role where you would, yes, the eagle flies and is connected with the skies, but is a more grounded creature than we think of the more mythological one. But if you really think about it, the quote unquote mythological Pegasus is also very much grounded because it's got, yes, it's got the wings, but it's got the 4 legs. And that's also reminding me in the Norse mythology, I think it's Sleipnir. Forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. That's that 6-legged horse, I think belonging to Odin. I hope I did not completely mess that up. Anyway, that's one of those things I say you might want to research further. I'm just going to throw things out that come to mind. And if I miss the mark slightly, who cares? Just go ahead and dig deeper and see where I went wrong, and learn a lot along the way. Otherwise, I hope I got that right. But anyway, I know there's a 6-legged horse, and I believe it's called Sleipnir. Okay, so anyway, the other, sub messages we have are success, freedom, and flow. And this is a nice little trio because let me just see if there's anything else I want to see. Okay, I hope I'm not making anybody seasick here, motion sick. But, we've got obviously the obvious message here is if you've got success, that allows for much more freedom. And then from that freedom is just, flow. For whatever reason, I'm looking at this also in reverse, where it's you got the flow, just, allow the magic and life to flow through you. And then you also have freedom and then success. So it kind of works both ways, which is interesting. All right, I'm going to keep going to the other little cards, and there still might be an overall tie-in on all of us. Okay, so then now you also have 2 of hearts, and you've got this aerial view of Stonehenge, obviously in winter or spring, presumably winter. Okay, that's one view. Then you've got Ace of Clubs. Okay, and then you've got another view, early morning view. And then you've got a Jack. Okay, Jack of Hearts. And this is just a general view. And what's interesting is, to me, since I do also do sky observations, and I invite you to look at any of those shows if you're interested. If you're here just for the card reading, great, that's fine too. But what interests me too is the sky. So, here it's kind of like a little bit misty and kind of a whiteout, in this middle one. We have kind of a mess of a situation. That's not all natural clouds right there, I can tell you that. And if you look at my sky observation shows, you'll see why I'm saying that. And then on the general view, it's a little more blue, a little hazy, but a little more blue. And that to me also can remind me some of I don't know why it's reminding me of this, but also just reminds me of some of our moods, where we might be either full of light, so much so that it's just beaming out, or we might be so kind of hazy and disturbed. It just kind of is a whiteout, like a empty screen, if we're kind of spaced out, I guess is what I'm looking for. And in this one, it's like, it's reminding me of a tie-in to the book I have in the background, Stonehenge Decoded, where, there's a lot going on in behind that sky with, I'm going to say cloaking objects and other things. Things are hidden in that sky. So there's other parts of us mood-wise where, sometimes when we're an open book and show it all, and sometimes, we want to keep things a little more hidden, a little more mysterious, things left to the imagination, things left to decode, and not to be, so much an open book or wearing our heart on our sleeve, so to speak. There are times to, step back from that a little bit, from aspects of our personalities and moods. And then this one, I get that, you could say, oh, look, it's blue skies, but is it really? No, it's a little bit hazy there too. So to me, that's like there's more than meets the eye going on. and not to just judge the book by its cover, not to be too quick to judge anything at first glance. We also have different things going on in these cards with the way the sunlight is or is not on them. Here we've got a warm, kind of a warm cast and glow on the stones. And here they're a little more shady, a little more, cold, a little more shadows to them. Not as warm. The landscape, though, now pops up warm by contrast. And in this one, of course, we've got kind of a colder setting, But what I like in this one is that look what's revealed. It's more than just, this one is more than about the stones. Look at the track, behind it, Some speculate that, oh, things were dragged up from there. I don't think so. That looks more to me like a runway or something else happening. So just, I guess, what I want to say too is that, we've got an aerial view. We've got, what do they call it? An early morning view and a general view. And this is just a reminder of how are we looking things, how are we looking at things in life? Are we just looking at things very generally? Yeah, there are times for that. Look at the stones. We're looking at them straight on in elevation and from a little bit of a distance. And from that perspective, we're going to see things very differently than if we look at this, from a little bit farther away in different lighting conditions and different climate. And obviously very differently if we zoom out off the chessboard. I guess here's my other little message coming through. If you look at these stones over here, like we are on the chessboard, okay, in the game of life, we're very much in and on the battlefield. If you imagine fighting with the other pieces, I know there's a famous scene in one of the Harry Potter movies. And actually, it's funny because I had a Harry Potter playing card deck, but it did not want to come out on the table. I was going to pair it with the dragons, but yet this reference is coming up. So in there's a scene where the kids are actually on this larger than life size chessboard, and they have to overcome some stuff before they can move on. So in this case, are you, it's just a question to all of us. Are we on the actual game board in it, like down in it? There's a song by 9-Inch Nails, and there's, I think it's called Down in It. And, are we down in it, in the trenches, fighting it out? Or are we going to zoom off of that chessboard and be the observer of the game? In this case, we're zoomed out far and above this ring, this arena that they're in, right? All these little pieces, and my focus, I'm having issues again. My apologies on that. But, is it going to work? We see the Stonehenge down there. It almost looks like little people, and if we look at that big circle, that's like the game of life. And I've referred to this book before, The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn from the 1920s. She was a metaphysician and taught, a lot of very interesting stuff, spiritual stuff. I highly recommend that book. Anyway, but if it's looking at that as the game board of life, are we choosing to be down in it, into the drama, slugging it out, tooth and nail in the very physical 3D way? Or do we see that for what it is and zoom out above, become the omniscient observer, become the one that's just the observer of the game, That's a very different perspective in life. This is a much more peaceful one, more tranquil one to match the mood of this winter scene. I can tell you that. So anyway, maybe consider that if you're in a situation. It doesn't mean you have to be detached and cold-hearted, but when you get off that game board and get out of that, when you realize it is just a game, and to not get too caught up in it, and you zoom out and see it for what it is, you're just going to find, total magic, getting back to our card here, complete magic. That's when you are the sorcerer, the magician, there are a lot of things that they call it in tarot and the tarot cards. But in this case, the oracle cards, you become the sorcerer, and then you can create a much more peaceful setting for yourself. Your outer world becomes much more beautiful, okay, when you live that way. And it allows your spirit to soar and to fly. You're not chained down or bogged down to the 3D earth in the sense of the negative aspects of it, right? You transcend that. And then that leads to the ultimate success, which is, how do you define that? How are you defining success? Of course, the 3D world has taught all of us to, be this, do that, acquire this, acquire that, get the money, right? Well, as we all know, there's things you can't put a price tag on. You can't give a dollar value to, nor would you ever want to. Ask anybody. I know a lot of us are facing challenges with loved ones leaving the planet rapidly, friends and family. I've had too many, that I care to see right now, from the effects of what was starting to be injected. That's all I'll say. Um, but anybody going through that would say, of course, who cares about money? You care about life and the joys of life and what you do with that in your, all of your moments, and especially in your perhaps final moments, right? So anyway, on a more positive note, although even in that, this boat is reminding me of some of the Greek mythology, and you have the people ferrying those who are passed over into the other realms type of thing. um, that light on there, that lantern, represents eternal life in that scenario. And it is a sacred thing. I know I'm wandering all over the place with your deck, but it's where it's going to go. If you're in a situation where you're walking a loved one home, so to speak, excuse me, they might be very ill, or even more than that, or maybe even recently passed. This is just a reminder that God spark, you see there on the lantern, that's eternal. That never dies or fades, never. So we just discard our little 3D suit here on this earth. I'm sure you're well aware of this. But our spark, our flame, our light goes on and on and on. It really does. You even can look at, there's lore that when somebody passes, they become a star in the heavens. Um, and in this case, I don't know, the crescent moon is really drawing my attention to. I mean, they may have the energy, that's like an entire moon shining, and you can't ever, there's a saying, the flame that cannot be extinguished by water, and that's what I get off of this too. So that God spark within us, it goes on and on, takes many forms. It could take on the form of the moon, the stars, come back in the form of a baby and look in their eyes, and you're like, oh my gosh, I know that's my grandfather, or that's my mother, right? And so no worries about it. We take on many different forms, and that's the discovery. That's the real journey of what we're going to come to, each one of us, when our time comes. And it's not a bad time. It's just a different time. Okay. All right. Well, I was going to say that's it for group one, but I'll just do one. Going to do an intuitive, open this book with my left hand and just point, and my eyes are closed. I know you can't see me, but my eyes are closed, and I just kind of go to where I'm led on any given page, and let's just see what word or whatever comes up. Ours is becoming a computer world. University students are nudged into the computer room in their freshman year. To them, the machine is a way of life. Recently asked a student to do a mathematical job worth about 3 pencil hours. A week later, she gave me the result. She had referred to the problem to the 7090, which meant that for days she had to wait her turn for use of a fraction of a second of that machine's time. In honest puzzlement, I asked her, why didn't you use a desk calculator? I don't know how. Then what about a pencil and graph paper? What's graph paper? The moral, I suppose, is that one should keep one's problems hard. Okay, see if that means anything at all to you. I don't want to put my own coloring on it. It will or it won't, okay? All right, now I am going to move on to group two. Everybody have a gorgeous day, gorgeous right now. And I might have a bonus card at the very end if I can get to it. And so if so, jump ahead to the end if you want. Stay around for the other readings if you like. And until next time, thank you. All right, group number two, here we go. We're going to go with the Everglades theme here. And right off the bat, here's a little preview of your cards down here. And I'm going to actually flip them all over pretty quickly because I'm a little pressed for time today. But let's go ahead with this one, letter H. That might mean something to somebody. And these are beautiful hammocks in the Everglades. And I'm just going to read the backs of these in a row on your cards. Hammocks are islands of trees and ferns in the grassy water found in the Everglades. Each hammock is like a world of its own with many plants and animals. The Indians called them garden places, in quotes. And I think if you were here at the intro, for whatever reason, I kept getting ferns as a prominent message today, to the point where the backdrop, was demanding that I at least make sure the ferns were, shown, because there's a lot of different plant life on this backdrop, and it's like, make sure the ferns show up. So we've done that. Okay, so that's a little message about hammocks. I love the idea of the hammocks being called garden places. I mean, they can also be called bay heads when you're looking out over the sea of sawgrass and you see these clumps. They're also, I think, called bay heads. And it's just an area where there's a little bit of more firm ground because the grass, they call it river of grass. It's a famous book by Marjorie Stoneman Douglas called The River of Grass, Everglades River of Grass, because it is a big moving river, a swath of a massive river. So that might be something for somebody to look into. It's a fascinating ecosystem in the Everglades. So I'll leave you with that for now. Okay, now I did go ahead and flip and I'm going to move this out of the way. I did go ahead and flip all your cards just for time's sake. And let's just see if I can expedite this a little bit. Not to rush anyone, but again, I want to make sure I get each group in without having to pull the plug, so to speak, a little early. Okay, so here we go. I'm just going to flip them and read them. So right away, 4 and 6 might mean something. 7 and 3. We have 38, which is 11 or a 2. And we have a 39, which is what, 12 or a 3. Okay, so here we go. You have four pine pink orchids make a pretty sight. The pine pink orchid grows above the high water level at Everglades. There are approximately 40 beautiful orchids that grow in Everglades National Park. Many of the orchids in the Everglades grow on trees. Okay. Then we have 6, and these are 6 American coots swimming in the water. The coot usually eats on the surface of the water but can dive for food. They eat insects, small fish, snails, worms, and seeds. They're noisy birds that make sounds like squawks, grunts, and croaks. Okay. Then we're going to go to 7. And by the way, yes, these are flashcards designed more for children, but hey, we get messages out of everything we look at if we want to. 7 are fiddler crabs walking along the shore. The fiddler crab sometimes plugs the hole it lives in to keep out the rising water. They have 1 large claw and 1 small one. If they lose a claw, they can grow another one. Fiddler crabs have 10 legs and run sideways. Okay, I knew they ran sideways. I did not know they had 10 legs. Okay, all right. Now we've got 3, and we have 3 tree snails climbing a tree. The beautiful tree snail is active only when it is wet. Their shells are striped with many different colors. Remember, the Everglades is their home, so let them roam free. In other words, yeah, don't take them home or take them off the tree. Okay, we also have from the Spirit Animal Oracle. Here's an image here. Lizard Spirit, dream the world into being. It's interesting here right away, too, as I see the lizard is climbing up this grass or these blades of grass, perhaps, kind of like the tree snail that's clinging up on the tree. And then we have the other pairing with this. It's a beautiful image of moth spirit, surrender now. Okay, let me see if there's anything tying all of this in together. If it wants to, let me take a moment. Well, I think I just want to go over each one. It might just be aspects or characteristics or qualities to talk about. There might be messages coming through. There might not on this one, honestly, today. Let's see. So, the pink orchid grows above the water level. Let's see. 40. That might be key for somebody. We've got a 4 and 40. Okay, so there are all different types of orchids, and the orchid in this case is high above the water level. Makes sense because the water level is ever changing. And also the orchids in general, depending on what kind you have, at least in subtropical Florida here, I've noticed and heard just, just kind of the older wisdom of people that work with them, that a lot of times, there's some people that toil and are very pristine with them and doting on them really, to perfection and taking care of them. And then there are those who just take an orchid, throw it under a tree, basically set it under a tree and walk away and know that the natural rain dripping down from the tree, if you put it under a tree, nourishes it and it's just fine. So you know what, there's no right or wrong way. If someone's a little more OCD about things or sloppy, hey, it's each our individual style, and that makes us uniquely us. So, I know that when I do these cards, sometimes I get them a little more straight and neat looking, and sometimes I just like throw them and sloppily put them all over the place. And for me, I like, wielding the aspects of both, of being neat and also being sloppy. So maybe that's a message for somebody. And if you're a neat freak, so to speak, lovingly said, maybe it's time to like loosen the grip on that a bit. And if you're real sloppy, maybe it's time to tidy things up a bit. Okay. All right. That's all I'm getting for that. Now this one, the cute. Okay. I like this, the versatility, where there's an easy grab on the surface of the water, but you can also dive in deep, when I'm already translating it to us as humans if we need to. Um, we have so many aspects and characteristics of us as human beings, and of course in the animal kingdom, they're just so awe-worthy, just taking a moment to appreciate what we each have. Um, let's see. That's all I'm getting from that. It's just our beautiful versatility. Okay, then we've got the fiddler crab. It's pretty darn amazing to have 10 legs and run sideways. I'm going to say an awful pun, in this case, there's always a leg to stand on. But in a more serious note here, I like too that, look at this, the adaptability and the wonder of nature. You lose a claw and you can grow another one. It's like the lizard, lose the tail, you grow another one. I've heard it said that, and I believe this is possible, that somebody did lose part of a finger and with the intention and with the belief could start growing it back. I do believe humans have that capability if we would but remember our capabilities and what we can do, and that is possible. 3, obviously, the divine number. I didn't know the tree snail was active only when wet. That's reminding me of what I think is going to happen in this spiritual growth of everybody in the ascension of the planet of the collective consciousness. That I believe you are absolutely currently in the process of a great shift through a great awakening. I do believe that there's a point, if it hasn't happened to you already, I mentioned this, I think, in the previous reading, where each one of us is just suddenly going to wake up activated in a way that we never knew possible. And I've mentioned it before, and it happened to me. Like, I woke up and then I became aware later through an example, being challenged with it, that I had like this incredible hearing all of a sudden, and like really other level type of hearing. And that came out of nowhere. So that's kind of reminded me of, active only when it's wet. It's also kind of like when you have a life preserver, there's ones that have the little light attached to it, and that light starts to strobe. It's kind of like the survival strobe starts activating just when it makes contact with water. So I don't know if any of that means anything to anyone. I know it's more kind of like a attributes or aspects of people and characteristics kind of read. But that's all I'm getting for right now. That's just kind of what it wanted to be. I will kind of go out of character. I'll give a bonus card right here. I'm randomly pulling one, and look at that. We've got the butterfly. So we've got the butterfly and the moth, both winged, both similar, yet very different in different ways. And, the obvious reads on that are the transformation and the, being attracted to the flame and the fire. I guess we didn't touch on the messages, dream the world into being, surrender now. And I think, just all I can say there is, yeah, if we surrender our attachments and be ready to just completely transform whatever that means, we know that, dreaming, I guess there's that one, isn't there that one saying, something about the caterpillar pillar never dreaming it could fly, something like that. I probably got that wrong. But, it just reminds me of this, that, we can really dream literally anything. The sky is the limit. And I've said it before, there is no limit with the sky. And at least that's, how I'm interpreting it right now. The sky just morphs and changes like the butterfly into different levels of, I forget them all. I used to know them. You have atmosphere, ionosphere, and all of that. It just, gradually mutates into something else and ever expansive. And then you get into the stars and the galaxy and all of that. So really, we can dream the world into being, but I would question, well, which world? Because you can dream many worlds into being, infinite worlds into being. And so just if we surrender again, any limiting beliefs, all of this and more is possible, even the ability to fly. All right, now I'm going to do one more little thing. I'm going to intuitively read from this book called Roots by, I think it's Olivia Wiley. And it's insights from the tree alphabet of Old Ireland. I'm closing my eyes, you can't see me, but I am opening with the book with my left, and usually I point with my right, but I'm just going to go wherever I'm led, and I'm going to go here. And sometimes there's just a word or something that might, mean something to somebody. And here we go. I'm going to move my finger just so I can read this, the first thing. So it was popular to tie cluties on Beltane morning, and in fact, the apple is intertwined with Beltane and Samhain, the two halves, of the year, winter and spring, times of change, times of uncertainty over the crop and the harvest. The apple blossoms in the spring, and the ripe red apple of the fall link us with the same anxious hope. I'm trying to read this through the viewfinder. Let us get through this. Okay. And actually, I don't usually read all of that, but I'm led to read one more thing. The apple is the tree that tells you, yes, times are going to be hard, and you're going to survive them. Okay, so I think that's the real thing about getting through hard times, and it's you are going to survive them. And tying back into your card, you will survive them more elegantly and probably with least suffering if you completely surrender and trust in knowing, and prayer if you're inclined, absolutely, that you are loved, blessed, and protected on a level that is unseen but surely felt. Okay, well, that's all I have for number 2 today. Thank you, and have a gorgeous right now and a beautiful day. All right, group number 3. We have a fun little read for you today. You got the dragon energy clearly, and right off the bat, I'll just start off with this one. You got the healer. I'm not going to read into that so much, but what do we have? Is that like a 20? It looks like a 26, which would be an 8. The healer, a green dragon, that might mean something to you. Okay, otherwise, I am going to read from the book on this one, unlike the other decks today. I am going to read from The Dragon Path by Carolyn Mitchell. She has a certain way of interpreting the dragons that I am totally unfamiliar with. And so let's just look at them all. I have 3 cards, and we're going to do probably a bonus card and read from a different book, which has a different take on dragons. And that's by, what is this called? Dragons, Your Celestial Guardians by Diana Cooper. So we'll just do a random pick on that at the end. So bear with me, okay? We've got Destiny. And help me count because it's way too early in the morning for me to do this correctly. But it's looking like a 15, which would also be a 6. So that's a pretty strong dragon, I would say. And then we have another one. Merlin the dragon, 21 or a 3. And I know the artwork probably isn't for everyone, but some of the meanings on these are very interesting. All right, and then we have another one. Orbron. And what is that? 14 or a 5? If I got that right. All right, so I am just going to read whatever catches my attention on these. Have another look, I guess, hang on, let me try to put them all together in one view. Okay, more or less see what's going on here. So obviously we've got 2 that are a little more fiery. That looks like kind of like an eclipsing sun. This could be, it looks more like the moon with everything that's going on around here. So we've got sun and moon energy, and of course the magic going on, whatever's being cooked up in there, right? That Merlin energy. Okay, so even though the imagery on here is a little harsh, I'm not getting negative vibes off of it at all. And actually, when I read from the book, you'll see some of the imagery, that they work in words is really nice. So let's go to, let's start off with the Destiny, which is the first one. It is your life, your journey, your path. You walk it your way. Destiny is a mighty dragon of great authority. She has no time for fluffiness, ego, or human dramas. As she puts it, she and her kind have been hidden in the depths of the earth for eons, waiting for us to be ready to take back our power and stand, hang on, I don't have anyone turning the page for me, and stand in our individual and collective might. She wants to galvanize us into action so that we stand strong against adversity and, if necessary, fly in the face of authority to challenge systems that are no longer fit for purpose. She says, quote, "If you want change, you need to be that change, not wait for others to do it for you. You do not need their permission to live your life your way, nor can they absolve you from responsibility. It is your life, your journey, your path. You walk it your way. Light and fluffy will not create lasting changes on your planet. Have you ever tried moving a large square flat-bottomed stone uphill? It is impossible. As humans, you need to come together and work in union, not isolation. Take responsibility for who you are. Hold the vision of what you wish to create and work together with others." All right, it's funny, the reference of the stone, because in the first deck, we have Stonehenge. Okay, and we'll go to, let's see if I want to go to Merlin next. And this might just be a straight up read from the book until we get to the little bonus reading at the end, but let's see. Okay, the Merlin one, continue your journey discovering what you need to learn, understand, and own. Merlin the dragon, let's see, to give him his full name, is an incredibly large and sage old dragon whose message is one of teaching and learning. If he has found his way into your reading today, his message is this, quote, "Not all things are as they seem. Some are images being reflected back to you in order for you to understand discernment and learn the lessons of self-trust. Only once you have done this will you discover how to stand in your own power and own who you truly are." Okay, I think I'll keep going. The Grand Master Dragons are able to shapeshift between their dragon and human or angelic form, and whichever guise he adopts. Merlin is the teacher of the teachers, so heed his wise counsel. You are unable to teach others until you fully understand the lessons yourself. Once you have mastered these, you are in a position of clarity and ownership and can share your wisdom with integrity and power. Until then, hold your tongue and continue your journey, discovering what you need to learn. Hang on, there's a little more. Yeah, oops, don't have the page turner here, guys. Bear with me. Here we go. Keep going here. Understand and own. Only then will you be in the place of authority to share your knowledge with others. If you notice that owls keep crossing your path, know that Merlin is around and willing to share his infinite wisdom with you and show you what you need to learn. He will stretch you and often answer questions with another question, encouraging you to seek the answer from within. He is not an easy Grand Master to work with, but he will guide you well. Okay, and as I've mentioned in other shows, I'm not thrilled with the titles of Archangel, Archangel, or Grand Master. I just don't see the need. There's wisdoms, and to classify them in that way just kind of reminds me of a very 3D approach, which I don't think is consistent with some of the realms we're dealing with. That's just my personal opinion, okay? That's just for me. All right, now we'll go to Orbron, and let's see what we got there. Reconnect to your physical body. Get out of your head. That's a good one. If Orbron has turned up today, it is to reassure you that you can achieve what is required. You may have to dig deep within yourself and maybe do this for the long haul, but you can and will succeed. The striking red dragon's connection is firmly grounded and in effect connects to our base chakra. He therefore relates to everything that makes our physical lives and the world we create for ourselves. Orbron's message is a simple one. Quote, "Nothing in this world you call home is insurmountable. Nothing is too big to deal with. Get your feet back on the ground and anchor yourself into your physical reality. Having your head in the clouds will not give you the answers you desire or require. Connect to your base chakra and reconnect to your physical body. Get out of your head and into your body. Release your ever-tumbling and swirling thoughts. When you are more grounded in this way, you will be better placed to deal with the matters that are demanding your attention. And you will then be able to handle them fully and with ease, freeing you to move forward. Your time is best spent tackling whatever is demanding your time. Deal with it totally, and then you will be in a position to move forward. Although Orbron is a tough-talking dragon, sometimes you need to hear it as it is. He's a great ally when you need to get a job done and deal with the here and now. Orban finishes his message with, quote, "Seek the path of least resistance. The more you tussle with a problem, the tighter the noose becomes, eventually strangling the solution." All right. So I typically don't do straight up readouts the whole way through, but this is what this pile was tending to ask for. So that's what I did. Okay. I think each message in and of itself is self explanatory. There are times to keep our head in the clouds and aloft, and like in the other piles, with group 2, we had, dream the world into being. So you very much need to be in that lofty space. Also with the sorcerer, with Merlin, that was also in group 1. If you want to take a look over there too, there's, a little bit of wielding the magic of both being really grounded and also really beyond all space-time grounding and all of that too. So, I think it's just a matter, as always, of balance, knowing all of your gifts and being able to work each one when you need it. But obviously, we do need to be anchored, very much so at times. And then also, in that, by anchoring, we can go up in the clouds and be tethered to something. Reminds me of the seahorse that grabs onto this little twig. There's a huge ocean, and sometimes they just grab onto, not a twig, I guess like seagrass or something, just to kind of hang in there and drift. To keep them from drifting. And so it's like that. Like, we have the capability of the whole ocean before us, but it's also nice to have that little bit of a tether. Also, like the 3D body, and when we go into dream state, everyone talks about a silver cord. That silver cord keeps our soul connected and tied to the 3D physical body, so we don't get too lost out there. So maybe that means something to somebody. Okay. I know it's a little all over the place today with that deck, but let's do one intuitive little thing. I'm going to take this book. And this, again, they have a very different look and a very different feel in the graphics, as you can see with the dragons. So I'm just going to intuitively, I'm closing my eyes, you can't see it, and I'm going to, usually I point with my right, but this time I'm going to have to point with my left because I'm holding the camera. Sometimes a word or phrase will jump out that's meaningful. This one is number 6. You are surrounded by a cloud of silver. Relax into it. Okay, that might be your message. All right. Relaxing into a cloud of silver. Actually, that reminds me, there might be more of an affinity, with the silver, of this Merlin the dragon. Okay. All right. And I'm feeling to give, actually your pile, I'm going to borrow from the second group over here. I'm just going to pick out randomly animal spirit card. And you got to be kidding me. I just pulled that out of the glass. You got dragons. So if you got this pile, boy, you really need to look into dragon energies. Maybe look at different decks, different lore, and like I always like to say, like the backs of these cards are really pretty. It's like showing it in the constellations. I talked before in another reading. There's actually the constellation Draco, which is a huge curve with some straight lines. You might want to look into that. And that's just, your thing for today. And what I like to say is this. There are good bad dragons, there are bad dragons. People talk about great Dracos, alpha Dracos. Yeah, they're good and bad in every type of living thing in every race. For me, the spirit of this is the cosmic dragon that is said to, kind of created stuff, before anybody could remember anything, kind of, massive, huge dragons in the galaxies. So that might mean something for you, okay? Or not, either way. I hope this brought something or sparked something in you to look at things further, okay? So I think I did cover everything. You know what? I have to give, I believe, let's see, you got your bonus card, and I did other cards all around. This reading's hopping all over the place today, but I'm just feeling like I do want to give that animal spirit card also to deck 2 and 1. I mean, group 2 and 1. So let's just see. I'm going to, again, just kind of pull randomly out for group 2. Turtle. And that is really funny because sitting over on the side, I had some like extras. Actually, spoonbill, you're getting a lot of bonus messages. The spoonbill, I'm going to give an extra little bonus too because it was hopping out of bringing to my attention the same coloring in this of the dragon. Guys, forgive me, I'm hopping all across, but I did give my disclaimer up front. Group 3, I just want to add the spoonbill. The roseate spoonbill is one of the most interesting looking birds in the Everglades. They swing their spoon-shaped bills from side to side in the water to gather up food, and they live among the marshes, rivers, and swamps in the Everglades. So that might be a cue for someone, or the letter S, something in there, okay? We'll come back over here now to finish up. Okay, what I was saying over here. So we have the turtle. Obvious message are maybe slow things down, have some patience, just float, take the load off, take the burden off, and just float, right? But that's funny because I don't think I'll find it now. Let me see if I can readily find it. But just to show you, these are some of the rest of the cards. Actually, manatees might mean something to somebody. And of course, I'm probably not going to be able to find it this way. But there was a cool turtle image. Here we go. I did see this at the very beginning. It was pretty prominent. So there are the turtles. And so your extra little message on top of extra messages is going to be, let's see, turtle. Turtles need to sun themselves to warm their blood. Many turtles live in the Everglades softshell, red-bellied slider, and the Florida box turtle. Sea turtles, like the loggerhead, come up onto the beaches to lay their eggs. So again, I know some of this is obvious because this is written for kids, but again, there's a message in everything and something might jump out for you there. Okay, and now let's get to group one, little bonus, group one. Let's pull, again, these cards. Just pick anything out here, and you get golden egg, which is interesting because we just talk about the loggerhead turtles coming up to lay their eggs on the beach. And this one, we got the interesting patterning on this egg. Again, it kind of reminds me of the cosmic egg, the genesis of all of life. We always have the what is it, a proverb or idiom? What came first, the chicken or the egg? Does it matter? Is my question. But anyway, we've got, this even hologram or holographic kind of stuff, and I talked about this in one of my very first readings, trying this out, where that just reminds me of the 0 point of creation, where, it's a very dark, it appears to be nothingness, but that's the exact moment where you've got the clean slate and anything in the world can be created. And that harkens back to group two's, dream the world into being. That's, I get a strong vibe from that on this card, because here's at the point before anything comes out, anything is possible. This thing, even though it might be tied to a certain species, whatever hatches out of that egg, there's infinite possibilities of how that life form is going to turn out, right? All right, well, this was a kind of a strange reading, I'll admit, but I hope all of you enjoyed it, got at least something out of it, and I wish you a gorgeous right now and a beautiful week ahead. Take care, everyone. Love your Sky Panther. Bye.